Imagine this. You're alone in a dimly lit room, staring at your reflection in a cracked mirror, when suddenly, the face staring back isn't yours. It's a stranger's whispering secrets you never knew. What if that stranger was you? Welcome to the twisted tale of Hercule Poirot and the shadows of a split mind. Chapter 1. The enigmatic invitation pictured the bustling streets of 1930s London, where the fog rolls in like a veil over hidden truths. Our story begins with the legendary detective Hercule Poirot, impeccably dressed in his signature suit and mustache perfectly waxed, sipping his tisane in his cozy apartment on Whitehaven Mansions. He's just solved another baffling case. Theft of a priceless emerald necklace from a high-society gayland. He's relishing a rare moment of peace. But peace, for Poirot, is as fleeting as a shadow in the moonlight. Enter Captain Arthur Hastings, Poirot's loyal friend and occasional sidekick, bursting through the door with his usual enthusiasm. "Poirot, old chap, you've got to see this," he exclaims, waving a cream-colored envelope sealed with an unfamiliar crest of fractured hourglass, symbolizing time splintered into pieces. The letter inside is from Dr. Elias Thorne, a renowned psychiatrist residing in a secluded manor on the outskirts of Devon. Thorne writes urgently, "Monsieur Poirot, I implore your little gray cells for a matter most peculiar. Patient of mine suffers from shadows within the mind, multiple souls in one body. But now murder stalks these halls, and I fear the killer is one of them, ... or perhaps all." Poirot's eyes gleam with intrigue. Dissociative identity disorder, or as it was known then, multiple personality syndrome, a condition where the mind fractures into distinct alters, each with their own memories, behaviors, and secrets. It's a psychological labyrinth, perfect for Poirot's methodical unraveling. He packs his bags, and with Hastings in tow, they board the train to Thorne Manor, a Gothic estate shrouded in ivy and mystery. As the landscape blurs by, Poirot muses aloud, "Hastings, mon ami, the human mind is like a puzzle box. Twist it wrong, and it reveals not treasures but terrors." Upon arrival, they're greeted by Dr. Thorne, a tall man with wire-rimmed glasses, and a nervous twitch who leads them through echoing corridors lined with portraits of stern ancestors. The patient in question is Lady Amelia Voss, a wealthy widow in her 40s, elegant yet haunted. Thorne explains her condition. Amelia hosts 3 alters. First, there's innocent Amy, a childlike persona full of wide-eyed wonder and playful antics, who emerges during stress and speaks in rhymes. Then, Vengeful Victoria, a sharp-tongued avenger with a grudge against Amelia's late husband for his infidelities, often plotting petty revenges like smashing vases. And finally, Silent Sophia, a mute observer who communicates through cryptic drawings, holding the key to buried traumas from Amelia's childhood abuse. But the plot thickens 2 nights ago. Thorne's assistant, Nurse Clara, was found strangled. In the manor's library, her body arranged like a broken doll. No fingerprints, no witnesses, but a note clutched in her hand. The shadows know. Suspicion falls on Amelia, as her alters have blackouts during which anything could happen. Was it Victoria's rage, or something more sinister? Poirot begins his investigation by interviewing the household. There's the butler, Mr. Grimshaw, a stoic figure with a limp from the war. "Ooh!" claims he heard arguing voices from Amelia's room that night. The maid, young Elsie, whispers about strange noises, like laughter turning to sobs in an instant. And Dr. Thorne himself admits to experimenting with hypnosis to integrate Amelia's personalities. But progress has been slow. As Poirot examines the crime scene, he notices peculiar details. A shattered mirror near the body, shards reflecting, distorted images, and a hidden diary page torn out, hinting at a secret affair. Ah, the mind splits. But evidence does not lie, Poirot declares, twirling his mustache. He demonstrates his famous method by reconstructing the scene, placing Hastings as the victim and role-playing the attack. "See, mon ami?" The killer struck from behind, but the note was placed after. Premeditation. For viewers fascinated by psychology, here's a practical tip. Understanding dissociative disorders starts with empathy. If someone you know shows sudden personality shifts, don't judge, suggest professional help gently. Like recommending a therapist as a mind mechanic. Books like Sybil offer real-life insights, showing how trauma creates these protective altars. Poirot wraps up the day by gathering everyone for tea, observing their reactions. Amelia switches to Amy mid-conversation, spilling sugar everywhere, and giggling. Shadows hide, but tea confides. It's a clue perhaps the child altar saw something. As night falls, Poirot retires to his room, pondering the fractured psyches and the murder's motive. Little does he know, the shadows are just beginning to stir, leading us into deeper enigmas ahead. Chapter 2. The Dance of Shadows. The morning sun barely pierces the heavy curtains of Thorne Manor, casting long, jagged shadows across the oak-paneled dining room. Hercule Poirot sits at the head of the table, his breakfast untouched, his eyes scanning the faces of the household like a hawk. Hastings, ever eager, scribbles notes in his pocketbook, trying to keep up with Poirot's rapid-fire observations. The air is thick with tension, as if the walls themselves hold their breath, waiting for the detective to unravel the next thread of this tangled mystery. Dr. Elias Thorne, his glasses fogging slightly from the steam of his coffee, begins the day by sharing more about the manor's recent disturbances. He describes how Lady Amelia's altars have grown more erratic since the murder. Last night, after Poirot retired, the household was woken by a piercing scream. It was Vengeful Victoria standing in the hallway, clutching a letter opener and muttering about betrayal. Thorne had to sedate her, but not before she scrawled a single word on the wall in red ink. Liar. Poirot's eyebrows arch. It's Victoria, she's most expressive, Nan. But what does she accuse? And whom? Poirot decides to question Amelia directly, but with caution, knowing her fragile state. They find her in the conservatory, surrounded by wilting orchids, her hands trembling as she sketches feverishly. Today she's Silent Sophia, her eyes distant, her pencil scratching out an image of a locked door with a shadow looming behind it. Poirot, ever gentle, kneels beside her. Madame, your drawings? They speak where words do not. This door, where is it? Sophia's gaze flickers, but she only hands him the sketch, her fingers cold as marble. Frustrated but undeterred, Poirot shifts focus to the manor's layout, suspecting the physical space holds clues to the psychological puzzle. He and Hastings explore the sprawling estate, mapping its corridors and hidden passages. They discover a locked attic door, its key missing, matching the one in Sophia's drawing. The butler, Mr. Grimshaw, claims it's been sealed for years, used only for storage, but his eyes dart nervously. Poirot notes this, his mind cataloging every twitch. Hastings, mon ami, a locked door is like a locked mind, it begs to be opened, but with care. Their exploration leads them to the library, where Nurse Clara's body was found. Poirot examines the room again, noticing a faint scratch mark on the floor beneath a heavy bookcase. With Hastings' help, they shift it, revealing a concealed panel. Inside is a small, locked box, engraved with the same fractured hourglass crest as the invitation. Forcing it open, they find a bundle of letters tied with a black ribbon. The letters, written in Amelia's hand, are addressed to someone named R. They speak of forbidden love, stolen moments in the manor's rose garden, and a promise to escape together. The last letter, dated the night of the murder, reads, R, meet me at midnight. We end this tonight. Poirot's little gray cells hum. Was R the victim's lover or the killer? He questions the maid, Elsie, who blushes and admits to seeing Amelia, one of her altars, sneaking out to the garden weeks ago, meeting a shadowy figure. Elsie couldn't see the face, but the figure wore a man's coat too large for Amelia. Could it be Grimshaw? Or Thorne himself? Poirot keeps his theories close, sharing only a cryptic smile with Hastings. As evening falls, Poirot gathers the household in the drawing room to observe their interactions. Amelia, now innocent Amy, hums a nursery rhyme, braiding Elsie's hair. But when Grimshaw serves tea, Amy freezes, her eyes narrowing into Victoria's glare. You, she hisses, pointing at the butler. You know what's behind the door? Before anyone can react, she collapses, reverting to Amelia, dazed and unaware of her outburst. Thorne rushes to her side, but Poirot notices Grimshaw's hand tremble as he sets down the teapot. The day ends with Poirot and Hastings in their guest room, poring over the letters. "Hastings, this R is the key," Poirot murmurs, tapping the paper. But the mind of Amelia Voss is a maze, and we have only begun to navigate it. Tomorrow, we unlock that attic door and, perhaps, the truth. The manor creaks around. Them, as if whispering its secrets, pulling us deeper into the shadows. Chapter 3. Unlocking the attic's whispers. The first light of dawn filters through the mist-shrouded windows of Thorne Manor, painting the ancient stone walls in hues of pale gold and lingering shadow. Hercule Poirot, ever the early riser, stands before the locked attic door, his gloved fingers tracing the intricate carvings that adorn its weathered surface, a motif of intertwining vines that seem to writhe like trapped spirits. Hastings, rubbing sleep from his eyes, joins him with a set of skeleton keys procured from the manor's dusty tool shed, his face a mix of excitement and trepidation. "Poirot, are you sure about this?" Grimshaw said. "It's been sealed for ages. Could be nothing but cobwebs and forgotten trinkets up there." Poirot's mustache twitches in amusement. "Ah, Hastings, but cobwebs hide spiders, and forgotten trinkets often whisper forgotten scenes. Let us see what this door guards." With a series of clicks and groans, the lock yields, and the door creaks open on rusty hinges, releasing a puff of stale air laced with the scent of old paper and decay. A narrow staircase ascends into darkness, and Poirot leads the way, his flashlight beam cutting through the gloom like a detective's keen gaze. The attic is a cavernous space, cluttered with shrouded furniture, stacks of yellowed newspapers, and trunks bulging with relics from bygone eras. Dust motes dance in the air as they move deeper, and Hastings sneezes violently, earning a shushing from Poirot. "Silence, mon ami. The past speaks softly here." Their search begins methodically, Poirot directing Hastings to one side while he takes the other. Mid the clutter, Poirot uncovers a ornate wooden chest, its lid engraved with the Voss family cresta, phoenix rising from shattered glass, eerily similar to the fractured hourglass. Inside, nestled among faded photographs and silk scarves, lies a collection of diaries bound in cracked leather. The entries, penned in a childish scrawl that evolves into elegant cursive, belong to a young Amelia Voss. Poirot flips through the pages, his eyes narrowing as he reads aloud snippets to Hastings, tales of a stern father, a distant mother, and nights filled with unexplained terrors. One entry stands out, dated 20 years ago. "The shadows come again. They argue inside my head. Father says it's nonsense, but I know they're real. Lady Sophia drew the monster under the bed. Victoria wants to fight it. Amy just cries." Poirot ponders this revelation, linking it to the origins of Amelia's fractured psyche. Hastings calls out from across the room. He's found a hidden alcove behind a false panel, concealed by a tattered tapestry depicting a stormy sea. Within the alcove sits a small shrine of sorts, candles melted to stubs, a framed photograph of a handsome young man with piercing blue eyes, and a locket containing a lock of dark hair. The photograph is labeled "Reginald my Eternal." Our Poirot's breath catches. Reginald ... the R from the letters. But who is he? A brother? A lover lost to time? Further inspection reveals a newspaper clipping tucked beneath the frame, yellowed and brittle, reporting the tragic death of Reginald Voss, Amelia's twin brother, in a boating accident off the Devon coast 15 years prior. The article hints at foul place, sabotaged rigging, but the case was ruled accidental. The discovery sends Poirot's mind racing, piecing together fragments like a mosaic. Could Reginald's death be the trauma that splintered Amelia's mind? And what connection does it have to Nurse Clara's murder? As they descend the stairs, clutching the diaries and photograph, they encounter Dr. Thorne in the hallway, his face pale as parchment. He stammers an explanation for the attic's contents, claiming it's merely family history. But Poirot detects the lie in his averted gaze. "Doctor, you knew of this Reginald? Why hide him?" "Perhaps because his shadow still haunts these walls, and perhaps the killer's hand." Undeterred, Poirot arranges a private session with Amelia in the sunlit parlor, hoping to coax revelations from her altars. arrives composed, but as Poirot shows her the photograph of Reginald, her demeanor cracks. Silent Sophia emerges first, sketching furiously a boat capsizing in turbulent waves, a figure reaching out in desperation. Then, without warning, Vengeful Victoria takes over, her voice a venomous hiss. Didn't drown by accident. Father pushed him. Jealous of our bond. I saw it, but no one believed. Now the nurse knew too much. She found the proof. Victoria's outburst fades, leaving Amelia weeping. Fragments of memory surfacing like bubbles in a storm. Poirot presses gently, learning that Nurse Clara had been assisting Thorne in therapy sessions, delving into Amelia's past. Clara had uncovered old letters from Reginald, hidden in the attic, suggesting their father, Lord Voss, had indeed tampered with the boat out of rage over a disputed inheritance. But before Clara could confront Thorne, who, it turns out, was a distant cousin and potential heiress, she was silenced. Poirot suspects Thorne's involvement, but needs more evidence. The afternoon brings another twist. While walking the grounds, Poirot and Hastings stumble upon the overgrown rose garden mentioned in the love letters. Mid thorny bushes, they find a buried time capsule, a metal tin containing mementos from Amelia and Reginald's childhood, a shared diary page vowing eternal loyalty, a pressed rose, and a key etched with truth unlocks all. The key fits a small drawer in Amelia's bedroom desk, revealing a final letter from Reginald. Sister, if I don't return, no father fears our unity. Protect the shadows, they hold our power. As dusk envelops the manor, Poirot confronts Grimshaw. In the kitchen, where the butler is polishing silver with mechanical precision, under Poirot's relentless questioning, Aldoy Grimshaw admits to witnessing an argument between Clara and Thorne the night of the murder, something about exposing the Voss secrets. Grimshaw, loyal to the family for decades, had kept silent out of fear. But now, with Poirot's assurance, he reveals a hidden passage from the library to the garden, used perhaps by the killer to escape unseen. The chapter closes with Poirot in his room, arranging the clues on a makeshift board. Diaries, photographs, letters, and sketches forming a web of deceit and despair.
Hastings.
The splits in Amelia's mind are mirrors of the family's fractures. Reginald's death birthed the alters in me for innocence. Lost, Victoria for rage unspoken, Sophia for truths buried. But the murder. It is a thread pulling them all together. Outside a storm brews, thunder rumbling like the approach of revelations yet to come, drawing us inexorably forward. Chapter 4. The hidden passage. The storm that loomed last night has broken over Thorne Manor. Rain lashing the windows like 1,000 accusing fingers. Hercule Poirot stands in the library, his silhouette sharp against the flickering firelight. As he traces the edge of the secret passage, Grimshaw revealed, the panel, cunningly disguised as part of the oak bookshelf, slides open with a low groan, revealing a narrow, cobweb-draped corridor descending into darkness. Hastings, clutching a lantern, peers over Poirot's shoulder, his voice tinged with unease. Good heavens, Poirot, this place gives me the creeps. Who knows what's lurking down there? Poirot's eyes glint with determination. Mon ami, it is not what lurks, but what hides. This passage is a vein in the heart of the mystery. Let us follow it. They step cautiously into the tunnel, the air damp and heavy with the scent of earth and mildew. The passage twists through the manor's foundations, stone walls etched with faint scratches, as if someone or something had clawed at them in desperation. Poirot's flashlight catches glints of broken glass scattered on the floor, remnants perhaps of a struggle long forgotten. As they navigate the labyrinthine path, it opens into a small chamber beneath the rose garden, its walls lined with shelves holding dusty jars of preserves and a single locked cabinet. The key from the time capsule fits perfectly, and inside, they find a ledger marked Voss estate accounts. 1910, 1915. Pages detail irregular payments to an unnamed party, signed with the initial R and countersigned by Lord Voss, Amelia's father. Aha, Poirot murmurs. Blackmail, perhaps, or a bribe to silence a truth about Reginald's death. Their discovery is interrupted by a faint rustling from the passage behind them. Hastings swings the lantern, revealing Elsie, the maid. Her face pale and eyes wide with fear. She stammers that she followed them, worried for their safety, after overhearing Thorne mutter about burying the past. Poirot, ever observant, notes her trembling hands and a smudge of red ink on her sleeve, the same ink Victoria used to scrawl liar. Gently, he questions her, and Elsie confesses to finding a torn page from Clara's journal in the library, hidden under a rug. The page, now clutched in her shaking hands, describes Clara's suspicion that Thorne was manipulating Amelia's therapy to suppress Victoria's memories of Reginald's death, possibly to protect his own claim to the Voss fortune. "I didn't know who to trust," Elsie whispers, "but Clara was kind to me. She deserved better." Poirot tucks the page into his pocket, his mind weaving connections. Back in the Manor's drawing room, he confronts Amelia once more, this time with the ledger and journal page. She's in her own persona, fragile but lucid, and the sight of the ledger triggers a flicker of recognition. "Father's secrets," she murmurs, her voice breaking. "He paid someone to keep quiet about Reggie's boat. Heard them arguing that night. He said Reggie was a threat to the family name." Before Poirot can press further, innocent, Amy emerges, humming a lullaby and clutching a rag doll, oblivious to the tension. "Reggie sleeping in the waves," she sings, pointing to a painting of the Devon coast on the wall. Poirot notices the painting's frame is slightly askew, and behind it, he finds a folded letter in Reginald's handwriting. "Amelia, if father acts, flee. The shadows will protect you." The letter suggests Reginald feared for his life, but it's the painting itself that draws Poirot's attention next. He removes it, revealing a small safe embedded in the wall. With Hastings' help and a combination deduced from dates in the ledger, Reginald's birthday tit opens to reveal a sapphire ring and a photograph of a young Amelia and Reginald laughing on the shore, their arms linked, the ring engraved. With forever hours, ties the siblings to a shared vow, perhaps the source of Victoria's rage and Sophia's cryptic drawings. Poirot theorizes that Amelia's altars emerged to protect her from the guilt and grief of Reginald's death, each holding a piece of the truth. As evening settles, Poirot gathers Thorne, Grimshaw, and Elsie in the dining room, laying out the ledger, letter, and ring. He watches their reactions closely. Thorne's jaw tightens, Grimshaw shifts uncomfortably, and Elsie avoids the ring's gaze. Poirot spins a tale aloud, testing them. Suppose Lord Voss killed Reginald to secure the estate, and someone perhaps Clare uncovered proof. Would the killer strike again, to keep it buried? Thorne protests, claiming he only sought to help Amelia heal, but his voice falters when Poirot mentions the red ink. Could Thorne have been in the room when Victoria wrote her accusation? The tension breaks when a loud crash echoes from upstairs Amelia's room. They rush to find her, now vengeful Victoria, smashing a mirror with a candlestick, shards glittering like stars on the floor. "He lies," she screams, pointing at Thorne. "He knew father's sin and kept it locked away." Before she can say more, she collapses, and Silent Sophia takes over, sketching a single image, a hand holding a sapphire ring dripping with water. Poirot's mind races. This ring links the past to the present murder. But how? As the storm rages outside, Poirot and Hastings retire to plan their next move. The passage, the ledger, the ring all point to a conspiracy rooted in Reginald's death, but the killer's identity remains elusive. "Hastings," Poirot says, his voice low, "the shadows of Amelia's mind are not just her own. They belong to this house, this family, and someone here guards them fiercely." The night grows darker, and the Manor's secrets seem to tighten their grip, pulling us toward the next unraveling. Chapter 5. Echoes from the depths. Lightning splits the sky outside Thorne Manor, illuminating the grand staircase in stark flashes as Hercule Poirot descends to the lower levels. His footsteps muffled by the thick Persian rugs. The storm's fury mirrors the turmoil within the estate, where secrets fester like open wounds. Hastings trails behind, carrying a notebook filled with hastily scribbled diagrams of the hidden passage and the clues unearthed so far. "Poirot," That sketch from Sophia, the ring dripping with water. It must symbolize Reginald's drowning, don't you think? But how does it tie to Clara's death? Poirot pauses at the landing, his finger tapping his temple. Precisely, Hastings. Water drowns truths, as it did Reginald. We must dive deeper, into the Manor's underbelly, where echoes of the past reverberate unchecked. Their destination is the cellar, access through a door in the kitchen that Grimshaw had mentioned in passing during his confession. The butler, now more cooperative under Poirot's piercing scrutiny, unlocks it with a rusted keyring, his limp more pronounced than the damp air. The trio descends steep stone steps, the temperature dropping with each footfall, until they reach a vaulted chamber lined with wine racks and forgotten crates. Cobwebs drape like funeral veils, and the faint drip of water echoes from somewhere in the shadows. Poirot's flashlight sweeps the room, revealing a workbench cluttered with tools and a peculiar apparatus, a makeshift darkroom, complete with developing trays and photographic negatives hanging like spectral flags. Intrigued, Poirot examines the negatives, holding them up to the light. They depict scenes from the Manor's history, formal family portraits of the Vosses, including a stern Lord Voss glaring at the camera, young Amelia and Reginald playing in the garden, and more disturbingly, images of the boating accident's aftermath wreckage. Washed ashore, a crowd of villagers, and a close-up of tangled ropes that look deliberately cut. These are no mere mementos, Poirot declares, his voice echoing off the stone. Someone preserved evidence of sabotage, but who developed them and why hide them here? Grimshaw shifts uncomfortably, admitting he found the darkroom years ago, but never touched it, assuming it belonged to Reginald, who had a passion for photography before his death. As they sift through the crates, Hastings uncovers a sealed envelope wedged between bottles of aged port. Inside is a coroner's report on Reginald's death, stamped confidential, with handwritten notes in the margins questioning the official ruling of accident. The notes, in a precise script matching Thorne's, suggest water in the lungs inconsistent. With drowning, perhaps Reginald was dead before the boat capsized. Poirot's eyes widen. Asphyxiation first, then staged as a boating mishap. This changes everything, mon ami. Reginald was murdered on land, then cast to sea. The revelation points to a cover-up, and Poirot suspects Thorne's annotations mean he knew the truth all along, perhaps using it to manipulate Amelia's treatment for his own gain. Their exploration is cut short by a muffled cry from above. Racing back to the main floor, they find Elsie in the hallway, hysterical, pointing to the conservatory. There, amid shattered glass from the greenhouse, panes broken by the storm, or something more sinister lies, a soaked figure. Dr. Thorne, sprawled unconscious, his clothes drenched as if pulled from the sea. Amelia stands over him, her expression blank, holding a dripping sapphire ring in her bloodied hand. "I don't remember," she whispers, dropping the ring as Silent Sophia emerges, her fingers sketching in the air as if tracing invisible waves. Poirot kneels by Thorne, checking for a pulse faint, but Presentan notices bruises around the doctor's neck, mirroring Clara's strangulation marks. Reviving Thorne with smelling salts from his pocket case, Poirot demands answers. The doctor, coughing and disoriented, claims he was attacked from behind while checking on Amelia during the storm. He saw a shadow, perhaps victorious, before blackness overtook him. But Poirot spots inconsistencies. Thorne's shoes are dry, unlike his sodden clothes, suggesting the water was poured on him deliberately. "You staged your own assault, Doctor. To divert suspicion, perhaps?" Thorne denies it vehemently, but his eyes flicker toward Amelia, who has retreated into innocent Amy. Curling up in a corner and murmuring rhymes about rainy games and hidden names, Poirot orchestrates a reconstruction in the conservatory, positioning everyone as they claim to have been. Hastings plays Thorne, Elsie the witness, and Grimshaw the bystander. As Poirot directs the scene, Amy suddenly giggles and points to a potted fern, behind which hides a small vial of sedative Thorne's own, half empty. "You dropped it, silly man," Amy exclaims, revealing unknowingly that Thorne had been in the room earlier, possibly drugging Amelia to provoke an alter. Poirot seizes the vial, his mind connecting dots. Thorne, as a cousin, stood to inherit if Amelia were declared unfit, her condition worsening under his care. The attack on himself could frame her alters as violent, sealing her fate. Delving deeper, Poirot interviews Thorne in the study. It's the storm providing a dramatic backdrop with thunder punctuating his questions. Thorne admits to discovering the coroner's report years ago, using it in therapy to probe Amelia's traumas, but insists he hid it to protect her from reliving the pain. However, under Poirot's relentless logic, cracks appear. Thorne reveals he was present the day of Reginald's death, a young medical student visiting the family. He saw Lord Voss arguing with Reginald over the estate and later found the boy unconscious in the boathouse, but did nothing, fearing implication. "I let the sea take him," Thorne confesses, his voice breaking. "But Clara found out, she threatened to expose me. I had to silence her." The admission hangs heavy, but Poirot senses more. Thorne's motive for Clara's murder fits, but the attack on himself? As Poirot presses, Vengeful Victoria bursts forth from Amelia, who had been listening from the doorway. "Liar twice over," she snarls, lunging forward. Grimshaw restrains her, but not before she reveals a scar on Thorne's hand from a childhood fight with Reginald, proving deeper enmity. Victoria's memory floods out. Thorne, jealous of the twins' bond, had helped Lord Voss sabotage the boat, then strangled Reginald when he fought back. Chapter 6. The weight of truth. The morning light spills through the high windows of Thorne Manor, casting long golden rays across the parlor where Hercule Poirot sits, his hands folded neatly over a cup of steaming tisane. The storm has passed, leaving the air crisp and the manor eerily silent, as if holding its breath after the night's revelations. Hastings paces near the fireplace, his brow furrowed, replaying Thorne's confession in his mind. Poirot, to think Thorne was complicit in Reginald's death all those years ago, it's monstrous. But why the attack on himself? Surely he didn't expect to fool you. Poirot's eyes twinkle with a knowing glint. Mon ami, a desperate man weaves desperate webs. Thorne's charade was a gamble, but the human heart is not so easily hidden. We must now ensure the truth holds firm. Dr. Thorne detained in the manor's study, guarded by Grimshaw until the constable arrives. Poirot turns his attention to Amelia, who sits quietly on a velvet settee, the sapphire ring glinting. On her finger, her face is a canvas of conflicting emotions, relief, grief, and a dawning clarity as her alters seem to merge, their boundaries softening. Poirot, ever the observer of the human condition, approaches her gently, his voice soft as a whisper. "Madame Voss, your mind has carried a heavy burden. The shadows of me, Victoria, Sophia, they protected you, but now you must face what they guarded. Tell me, what do you recall of that day by the sea?" Amelia's eyes clear for the first time in days meet his. She speaks haltingly, her voice a blend of her own and echoes of her alters. "Reginald and I were inseparable, you know. Twins bound by more than blood. That summer, Father was furious. He wanted to sell the estate to settle debts, but Reggie found proof he'd been embezzling from family trusts. They fought in the boathouse. I was there, hiding, too scared to act. So I saw Thorne grab Reggie, choke him, while Father watched. Then they dragged him to the boat." Her voice breaks, and she clutches the ring. "Sophia buried it. Amy denied it. Victoria burned with it. But I knew deep down, and it tore me apart." Poirot nods, his mind cataloging her words against the evidence, the negatives, the coroner's report, the cut ropes. He guides Amelia to recount more, and she reveals a chilling detail on the night of Clara's murder. She remembers waking in the library, her hands cold and her dress damp, as if she'd been outside. "I thought it was a dream," she murmurs, but Victoria whispered it wasn't. Could I have hurt Clara? Poirot's expression softens, but his mind sharpens. "Non, madame. Your alters are protectors, not killers. But someone used your confusion, perhaps, to make you doubt yourself." To test this, Poirot orchestrates a subtle experiment. He gathers the household, Elsie, Grimshaw, and a reluctant Thorne. now handcuffed and sullen in the library, recreating the night of Clara's murder, positions Amelia near the shattered mirror, asking her to recount her dream. As she speaks, her voice shifts to Victoria's sharp and accusing, pointing at Thorne. You were there, weren't you? Watching me, making me think I did it? Thorne flinches, but Poirot notices Elsie's reaction, a quick glance at Grimshaw. Her hands twisting her apron. Suspicion flickers. Could Elsie know more than she's let on? Poirot shifts focus, examining the library anew. He finds a faint stain on the carpet near the mirror, missed in earlier searches, a trace of red ink like that used by Victoria. But nearby, hidden in a crack between floorboards, is a tiny pearl earring. Not Amelia's style, but matching one Elsie wore earlier. Poirot pockets it discreetly, his mind turning. Elsie had been quick to produce Clara's journal page, quick to follow them into the passage. Was she merely a frightened witness, or something more? To probe further, Poirot takes Elsie aside in the conservatory, where the broken panes let in a chilly breeze. He adopts a fatherly tone, coaxing her to speak. Mademoiselle Elsie, you loved Nurse Clara, did you not? Yet you hold something back. The earring, perhaps, fell when you saw something that night. Elsie's eyes fill with tears, and she confesses. She was in love with Clara, a secret kept due to the era's prejudices. On the night of the murder, Elsie overheard Clara arguing with Thorne about the coroner's report. Frightened, she hid behind the mirror, dropping her earring in her haste. I saw Clara fall, Elsie sobs, but it wasn't Amelia. It was a shadow tall, limping. I thought it was my imagination. The limping shadow points to Grimshaw, whose war injury gives him a distinctive gait. Poirot confronts the butler. In the kitchen, where he's polishing cutlery with mechanical calm, under Poirot's relentless questioning, Grimshaw's stoic facade cracks. He admits to witnessing Thorne strangle Clara after she threatened to expose the Voss family secrets, including his own role in hiding the sabotaged ropes years ago. I served Lord Voss loyally, Grimshaw says, his voice hollow. When Thorne killed Clara, he said it was to protect the family name. I stayed silent, as always. But when Poirot presses about the attack on Thorne, Grimshaw falters, denying involvement. Though his hands tremble on the knife he holds, Poirot's little gray cells work overtime. Thorne killed Clara to silence her, but the staged attack on himself suggests a deeper manipulation, perhaps to frame Amelia and secure the estate. Yet Grimshaw's complicity and Elsie's hidden knowledge complicate the web. To confirm, Poirot stages a final test. He announces to the household that he's found a new clue, a hidden camera in the library that recorded the murder.
It's a bluff, but it works.
Grimshaw, panicked, blurts out that he helped Thorne move Clara's body to stage the scene, believing it would protect Amelia from suspicion. Thorne said her alters would take the blame, he confesses, head bowed as the constable arrives. Thorne is formally arrested, but Poirot senses the case isn't fully closed. Amelia, now more integrated, joins him in the parlor, her fingers tracing the sapphire ring. It's over, isn't it? She asks. Poirot shakes his head. Almost, madame. But one shadow remains. Why did Grimshaw help Thorne so readily? Loyalty, or something more? Outside, the manor's gardens bloom under the clearing sky. But a faint creak from the attic door above hints at secrets still stirring, pulling us toward the next chapter. Chapter 7. The loyal mosque. The late morning sun bathes Thorne Manor in a deceptive calm. Its golden light, filtering through the stained-glass windows of the grand hall, casting kaleidoscopic patterns on the polished floor. Hercule Poirot stands, motionless, his hands clasped behind his back, studying the intricate designs as if they might reveal the final piece of the puzzle. Hastings, ever restless, fidgets nearby, his notebook now a chaotic tangle of theories and sketches. Poirot. With Thorne arrested, in Grimshaw's confession, surely we've cracked it. The man's guilt is plain as day. Poirot's mustache twitches, a subtle sign of dissent. Non-Hastings. The surface is clear, but beneath lies a current of motive we have not yet plumbed. Loyalty is a mask. Mon ami, and Grimshaw's wears thin. With Dr. Thorne now in the constable's custody, awaiting transport to the local jail, Poirot turns his scrutiny to the butler, whose stoic demeanor has begun to fray. Grimshaw is found in the pantry, methodically arranging jars, his limp more pronounced under the weight of recent events. Poirot, with his usual blend of charm and steel, engages him in conversation, probing the depths of his loyalty to the Voss family. "Monsieur Grimshaw, you served Lord Voss for decades, and now Lady Amelia. Such devotion is admirable, yet you aided Thorne in concealing a murder. Why risk your honor?" Grimshaw's hands pause, a jar of preserves trembling in his grip. "It was for her or for Amelia," he mutters. "Thorne said her mind would break if the truth came out. I couldn't let her suffer more." Poirot's eyes narrow, sensing a half-truth. He leads Grimshaw to the drawing room where Amelia sits, her composure fragile but growing stronger as her alters recede. Poirot places the sapphire ring on the table, its blue facets catching the light like a frozen tear. "This ring, Monsieur Grimshaw, binds the twins' vow. You knew Reginald, did you not? A young man who trusted you." Grimshaw's face tightens, and he admits to a bond with the twins, forged in their childhood when he'd sneak them extra scones or cover for their pranks. "Reginald was like a son," he says, voice cracking. "When he died, I swore to protect Amelia, no matter the cost." To unravel Grimshaw's role, Poirot revisits the hidden passage, this time alone, as Hastings is tasked with keeping Amelia company. In the underground chamber, Poirot examines the dark room more closely, noticing a faint inscription on the workbench. "4A from R, always." It confirms Reginald's use of the space, but a closer look reveals a hidden drawer, its lock scratched as if recently forced. Inside lies a small journal, its pages filled with Reginald's meticulous notes on the Voss estate's finances, detailing Lord Voss's embezzlement and a plan to confront him with evidence. The final entry, dated the day of his death, reads, "Grimshaw knows. He promised to stand with us. If I fall, he'll guard her." This revelation shifts Poirot's perspective. Grimshaw wasn't just a bystander. He was complicit in the twins' rebellion against their father. But why turn against Reginald? Poirot returns to the manor, finding Grimshaw in the kitchen, now alone, polishing a silver tray with obsessive care. Under Poirot's relentless questioning, the butler's mask slips further. He reveals that Lord Voss had threatened to ruin him, expose a past theft from the estate to fund his sister's medical care during the war. "I had no choice," Grimshaw confesses, his voice barely a whisper. "I told Thorne about Reggie's plan. I didn't know they'd kill him. After, I stayed to protect Amelia, to atone." But Poirot senses more. The attack on Thorne, staged to frame Amelia, required an accomplice with access to the manor's secrets. Grimshaw's limp, noted by Elsie's limping shadow, places him at the scene of Clara's murder, not just as a witness, but as a participant. Poirot sets a trap, casually mentioning a fictional second journal found in the passage, one that names Grimshaw explicitly. The butler's reaction is immediate. His face drains of color, and he drops the tray, its clatter echoing. "You can't have it," he stammers. "I burned it after Clara found it. She was going to tell Amelia everything about me, about my betrayal." Grimshaw's confession unravels the final thread. He helped Thorne stage Clara's murder, strangling her in a moment of panic when she confronted him with Reginald's journal, which she'd found in the darkroom. The note in her hand, the shadows know, was Grimshaw's desperate attempt to shift blame to Amelia's altars. The attack on Thorne was his own plan, hoping to muddy the waters further and protect himself. "I thought if Thorne took the fall, Amelia would be safe," he says, tears streaking his weathered face. "I failed them both, Reginald and her." Poirot, with a rare flicker of pity, escorts Grimshaw to the parlor, where Amelia listens, her expression a mix of sorrow and resolve. "You loved us, Mr. Grimshaw," she says softly, "but love doesn't justify betrayal." The constable, now joined by a second officer, takes Grimshaw into custody alongside Thorne, the weight of their shared guilt binding them. Poirot watches as Amelia clutches the sapphire ring, a symbol now of closure rather than pain. Your shadows, madame, have spoken, he tells her. They have led us to justice. As evening falls, the manor feels lighter, as if the Chapter 8. The Mirror of Motives. The afternoon sun hangs low over Thorne Manor, its rays slicing through the tall windows of the grand hall, illuminating specks of dust that drift like ghosts of the past. Hercule Poirot stands before the cracked mirror in the library, his reflection fragmented yet resolute, as he contemplates the web of motives now laid bare. Hastings, seated at a nearby table, flips through his notebook, his face etched with disbelief. Poirot, with Thorne and Grimshaw in custody, the case feels solved, yet you look like a man who's seen a shadow move. What's left to uncover? Poirot turns, his eyes sharp as cut glass. Mon ami, a mirror reflects what is seen, but not what is hidden. We have caught the hands of murder, but the heart of this tragedy beats elsewhere. We must look deeper into the manor's final secrets. Poirot's focus shifts to the fractured mirror itself, its jagged edges a silent witness to Clara's death. He runs his gloved finger along a shard, noticing a faint smudge, not ink, but a trace of wax, as if a candle had been held close. This sparks a memory of the shrine in the attic, with its melted stubs, and he wonders if someone else in the household had been visiting it. He summons Elsie, the maid, whose nervous demeanor has grown since her confession of love for Clara. In the quiet of the conservatory, surrounded by the scent of damp earth and blooming orchids, Poirot questions her gently. Mademoiselle, you saw the limping shadow, but did you ever visit the attic? Perhaps to honor Clara, or someone else? And she admits to lighting candles there after Clara's death, a private ritual to grieve, but insists she saw no one else. Unsatisfied, Poirot returns to Amelia, who is taken to wandering the manor's halls, her steps sure as her altars continue to integrate. In the parlor, she sits with the sapphire ring, its gleam a beacon of her reclaimed memories. Poirot shows her the wax-stained mirror shard, asking if it stirs any recollection. Her eyes widen, and Silent Sophia emerges briefly, sketching a candle. Held by a hand wearing a familiar glove Grimshaw's, identifiable by its monogrammed cuff. He was there, Amelia whispers, reverting to herself in the library after Clara fell. Ah! I saw him through Victoria's eyes, lighting a candle, whispering to someone. Poirot's mind races Grimshaw's loyalty to the Voss family. Was clear, but was he protecting another? To test this, Poirot explores the manor's upper floors, drawn to a neglected wing where the Voss family once lived. In Lord Voss's old study, untouched since his death a decade ago, Poirot finds a locked desk drawer. Using the skeleton keys from earlier, he opens it to reveal a bundle of letters, not in Reginald's hand, but in Lord Voss's, addressed to a woman named Margaret. The letters, passionate and desperate, confess an affair and a child born out of wedlock, a secret heir who could challenge Amelia's claim to the estate. One letter mentions a trusted servant tasked with ensuring the child's silence. Poirot's heart quickens. Grimshaw, he murmurs, not just a butler, but a guardian of a deeper scandal, confronting Grimshaw now in a makeshift. Holding room under the constable's watch, Poirot presents the letters. The butler's face crumples, and he reveals the truth. Margaret was his sister, and her child, born to Lord Voss, was raised in secret in a nearby village. Grimshaw had sworn to protect the child's identity even after Margaret's death, to preserve Amelia's inheritance. When Clara began digging into the Voss family secrets, she stumbled upon this too, threatening to expose the heir's existence. Thorne acted first, Grimshaw says, his voice hoarse, but I helped move her body, lit the candle to pray for her soul. I couldn't let the child suffer for Lord Voss's sins. Poirot pieces together the final motive. Grimshaw's actions were not just for Amelia, but for the secret heir, whose claim could destabilize the estate. To confirm, Poirot visits the village, accompanied by Hastings, and tracks down the now adult heir. A quiet woman named Rose, living as a seamstress. She knows nothing of her heritage, but her resemblance to Amelia is uncanny, and a locket she wears bears the Voss crest. Poirot, choosing discretion, leaves her in peace. Deciding the truth of her parentage, need not disrupt her life yet. Back at the manor, Poirot gathers Amelia and Elsie in the grand hall, explaining the full scope of the tragedy. Madame Voss, your father's sins cast long shadows, Reginald's death, Clara's murder, and a hidden sibling. Grimshaw and Thorne, each in their way, sought to bury these truths, but your mind, fractured as it was, held them fast. Amelia, tears streaming, nods the sapphire ring, a symbol of her strength. I'll honor Reggie by living fully, she vows, her voice steady, testament to her healing. As evening settles, Poirot and Hastings prepare to depart, the constable having taken Grimshaw and Thorne away. The manor feels cleansed, its air lighter, but Poirot pauses at the mirror one last time. Its cracks now a map of resolved truths. Hastings, the heart of this case, was love, twisted, hidden, but ever present. Yet I wonder, does every shadow truly dissipate? Faint breeze stirs the curtains, whispering of the manor's enduring mysteries, drawing us toward the next chapter. Chapter 9. The unseen heir. The twilight casts a soft lavender glow over Thorne Manor, its turrets silhouetted against the fading sky like sentinels of a bygone era. Hercule Poirot stands on the manor's front steps, his overcoat buttoned against the evening chill, his eyes fixed on the horizon where the village lies. Hastings, ever loyal, adjusts his scarf and mutters, Poirot, you've solved the murder. Exposed Thorne and Grimshaw and given Amelia peace. Surely we're done here. Poirot's lips curve into a faint, enigmatic smile. Mon ami, a case is like a tapestry pool, one thread and another phrase. The secret heir Rose remains a shadow unaddressed. We must ensure her place in this story does not unravel further. Poirot's mind lingers on Rose, the seamstress whose existence as Lord Voss's hidden daughter could still disrupt Amelia's fragile recovery. He decides to revisit her, not to reveal her heritage, but to ensure no lingering threats remain. With Hastings in tow, they walk the winding path to the village, the crunch of gravel underfoot punctuating their silence. The village is quaint, its cobblestone streets lined with cottages glowing warmly in the dusk. At Rose's modest shop, they find her stitching a delicate lace collar, her fingers nimble and her face serene, unaware of the storm her existence could unleash. Poirot introduces himself as a curious traveler, admiring her work, while subtly probing her past. Mademoiselle, you have lived here long. Your locket is most striking. Rose touches the Voss crest instinctively, smiling. A gift. From my mother, Margaret. She said it was from a kind employer, long ago. The locket confirms her connection, but Poirot senses no malice in her ignorance. Still, a nagging detail tugs at him. Grimshaw's fierce protection of Rose's secret suggested an external threat. Back at the manor, Poirot examines the letters from Lord Voss to Margaret, found in the study. One, dated just before Reginald's death, hints at a rival family, the Havershams. Neighbors who coveted the Voss estate and knew of Margaret's affair. They learn of the child, Lord Voss wrote. They'll use her to claim what's ours. Poirot's little grey cells. Could the Havershams have played a role in the manor's tragedies? To investigate, Poirot and Hastings visit the Haversham estate, a grand but decaying manor a mile away. They're greeted by Mrs. Evelyn Haversham, an imperious widow with sharp eyes and a colder demeanor. She claims no knowledge of Rose, but bristles at the mention of Lord Voss, hinting at old grudges over land disputes. Poirot, ever astute, notices a photograph on her mantelette. Young man resembling Reginald, labeled Charles, 1910. When questioned, Evelyn snaps, "My son, long gone. Nothing to do with your prying." But Poirot catches a flicker of fear in her eyes, and later in the village pub, a barman whispers that Charles Haversham was rumored to have courted Margaret before her affair with Lord Voss, sparking a feud. Back at Thorne Manor, Poirot pieces together a theory. Charles, jealous of Margaret's choice, may have uncovered Rose's parentage and informed his mother, who saw an opportunity to destabilize the Vosses. To test this, Poirot arranges a meeting in the manor's drawing room, inviting Evelyn under the guise of discussing estate boundaries. Amelia, now stronger, agrees to join, her presence a quiet anchor. Poirot presents the locket's twin, found among Margaret's letters, and watches Evelyn's reaction. Her composure cracks, and she admits Charles had suspected Rose's lineage and confronted Lord Voss, leading to a violent argument. Charles vanished after that, she says, voice trembling. I thought Voss killed him, so I pushed Thorne to ruin Amelia Mick, her unfit to inherit. The revelation stuns Hastings, but Poirot presses on, deducing that Charles's disappearance, likely another murder by Lord Voss, covered up as a runaway fueled Evelyn's vendetta. She had bribed Thorne, a distant cousin with his own ambitions, to manipulate Amelia's therapy, hoping to drive her to madness. Clara's discovery of Rose's existence threatened this plan, leading to her murder. Evelyn, though not the killer's hand, was the puppetmaster, her strings woven through years of resentment. You use grief as a weapon, Madame, Poirot says, his voice firm but not unkind. But the truth cuts sharper. Amelia, listening, absorbs the weight of her father's sins. Reginald, Charles, and Rose, all victims of his greed. She vows to meet Rose, not as a rival but as a sister, to heal the family's wounds. Poirot, satisfied, ensures Evelyn's confession is recorded by the constable, who agrees to investigate Charles's fate further. As night falls, the manor feels lighter, its shadows receding. Poirot and Hastings walk the gardens, the air sweet with roses. Hastings, the heart of this case, was not just murder, but legacy love and hate passed down like heirlooms. Rose's peace is our final victory. Yet, as they pass the cracked mirror in the hall, a faint reflection seems to flicker, hinting at one last secret to unveil. Chapter 10. The light beyond shadows. The moon rises high over Thorne Manor, its silver light piercing the veil of night and illuminating the grand parlor where Hercule Poirot has assembled the remaining souls entangled in this web of deception. Amelia Voss sits at the center, her posture regal yet weary, the sapphire ring on her finger a quiet talisman of her reclaimed self. Beside her, Rose, the unseen heir, stands uncertainly, invited by Poirot to witness the final unmasking. Her face a mirror of Amelia's, soft with confusion and dawning recognition. Evelyn Havisham, summoned under the pretense of resolution, perches on the edge of a chair, her sharp eyes darting like a cornered fox. Hastings leans against the mantel, his notebook finally closed, while Elsie hovers in the doorway, a silent guardian of the manor's fading secrets. Poirot, impeccably composed, steps forward, his voice a steady cadence cutting through the tension. Mesdames et messieurs, the shadows of this split mind have danced long enough. We dispel them entirely, revealing the true killer who orchestrated the symphony of murder and madness. Poirot begins his denouement with the precision of a maestro, gesturing to the cracked mirror on the wall as a symbol of the fractured truths they've uncovered. He recounts the origins, Lord Voss's embezzlement, his affair with Margaret, and the birth of Rose, secret that threatened his legacy. Reginald, discovering the fraud in Rose's existence, planned to expose it all, forging an alliance with Grimshaw, who betrayed him out of coerced loyalty. Thorne, jealous and ambitious, Poirot continues, his mustache quivering with emphasis, strangled Reginald in the boathouse. With Lord Voss's approval, staging the drowning to bury the scandal, Amelia, witnessing it all, shattered into altars. Amy, to preserve innocence, Victoria to harbor rage, Sophia to guard the unspeakable. Years passed, but the shadows lingered. He turns to Evelyn, whose fingers clutch her handbag like a lifeline. You, Madame Havisham, learned of Rose through your son Charles, who loved Margaret and vanished after confronting Lord Voss, likely another victim of his wrath, his body hidden in the estate's forgotten crypt, which we shall excavate tomorrow. Evelyn's face pales, but Poirot presses on. Your vendetta burned bright. You blackmailed Thorne, your distant kin, to infiltrate the manor as Amelia's psychiatrist, twisting her therapy to exacerbate her condition, driving her toward institutionalization, so the estate would fall to you through fabricated claims. But Nurse Clara, diligent and kind, unearthed the letters, the coroner's report, and Rose's lineage. She confronted Thorne, and in a panic he silenced her with his hands around her throat. The room gasps, but Poirot raises a hand. Yet that is not the full revelation. Grimshaw, racked by guilt, helped stage the scene, placing the note to implicate Amelia's shadows. The attack on Thorne? A ruse by Evelyn herself. Slipping into the manor through the hidden passage she knew from old rivalries, pouring water on him and bruising his neck to frame Victoria's rage. Why? To accelerate Amelia's downfall, ensuring her committal before Clara's discoveries could surface fully. Evelyn leaps to her feet, protesting. But Poirot produces a damning clue, a monogrammed handkerchief found in the conservatory. Stained with Thorne's sedative and bearing the Haversham crest. You dropped it in your haste, madame? Your motive was not just revenge, but greed. The estate's deeds hide mineral rights worth fortunes, which you planned to claim via Rose, whom you intended to manipulate as a puppet heir once Amelia was gone. Rose steps forward, her voice trembling, but firm. I want no part of this blood-stained legacy. Amelia reaches out, clasping her half-sister's hand, a bridge forming between them. Nor do I alone. We'll share it, heal it. Evelyn, cornered, collapses back into her seat as the constable, waiting in the shadows, steps forward to arrest her. Her confession spilling forth in a torrent of defeated sobs, she admits to the attack, 2 whispering poisons in Thorne's ear, 2 being the architect of Clara's end, even if Thorne wielded the fatal grip. I did it for Charles, she whispers, but hate consumed me. Poirot nods solemnly, his work complete. The true killer, then, is not one hand, but a conspiracy of Hartshorn's ambition. Grimshaw's betrayal, Evelyn's vengeance, yet at its core it was Evelyn who pulled the strings, the puppetmaster revealed. The room falls silent, the weight of justice settling like dust after a storm. Amelia rises, her altars now whispers in a unified mind, thanking Poirot with tears in her eyes. You've given me back myself, monsieur. The shadows retreat. Poirot bows slightly, his eyes warm. 'Tis the little grey cells, madame, and the resilience of the human spirit. As dawn breaks, Poirot and Hastings board their train back to London, the manor receding like a dream. Poirot sips his tisane, reflecting. Hastings, mon ami, every mind holds shadows, but light prevails when truths are faced. The landscape blurs by, carrying them homeward, the case of the split mind forever etched in mystery's annals. And that's the end of our twisted tale, folks. If you enjoyed unraveling the shadows with Hercule Poirot, hit that like button, subscribe for more gripping stories, and comment below. Who did you suspect was the ultimate puppet master? Thanks for watching.